Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about your own dream language. And this is very important to us as yogis because as we're doing a meditative process or as we're doing HRV resonance, as we're sitting very still, we may come deep inside of ourselves, and it's very possible that we might have a vision. The higher self might speak to us, or maybe we're having a dream and it's not a normal dream. There's something different. There's something very uplifting about this dream, and I want to understand it deeply. So I want to give you a process to understand that, an outline of how that should be done properly, so that you can begin to interpret this kind of dream language for yourself. So, let's get into it. So the first thing that we have to understand is that we are dealing with three primary states of consciousness. We have our conscious mind, then we have our subconscious mind, and then we have our superconscious mind. And when we're in our conscious mind and we're totally stressed out, then that stress will cause the other two systems to disappear. We're just in the conscious mind, we're just stressed out, we can't listen to the subconscious, we can't listen to the superconsciousness. And then we practice HRV resonance, we practice sitting very still. We notice the four proofs, we get into our parasympathetic system, we start to slow down, and the first place, the thing we might notice is our subconscious. Very wonderful. And then we want to clean that out. We want to make that as clean as possible. That's the Om Japa in the chakras, right? So now, think of that subconscious as a pool. And if the pool is full of stuff, well, it's more difficult to have a reflection, right? But as I clear the pool, the reflection gets more and more clear. And so when the higher self speaks to us, it's not going to speak directly to the conscious mind. This is the gargantuan understanding I received from Tad James through the Kahuna. The superconscious mind will not speak directly to the conscious mind. No, it sends it down and it goes into the subconscious, and there it is reflected back to you if you are in the conscious mind. This is extremely important. This is the beginning of receiving messages. So first of all, I want to still. I want to be very quiet. I want to be very present. I want to be in the parasympathetic system. I want to be very, very clear as I possibly can so that I am ready to receive that message, that voice of inspiration, that still small voice from the higher self. And it will come down, it will be received in this pool of the subconscious mind. So what does that have to do with dreams? Well, it very often will appear as images. The message will appear, I get these all the time, as an image. And then I have to understand and interpret the image from the higher self. It's not always that way. Sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's a knowing, sometimes it's actual words, sometimes it's the wordless words. All of that is possible, but very often the higher self, as it hits the subconscious, it will show up as images, this kind of image language which is part of your subconscious. So if you understand a little bit of symbology, if you understand the messages that are coming to you through your own dreams, then it will make it easier for you to interpret what is being given to you. So a wonderful place to practice this is in our dreams. So keep a pad of paper next to your night table. You wake up before you move, because moving will put you into a different brainwave and it will break the memory of the dream. So before you move, if you can write down as much as you can remember of the dream, and you want to write down all of the details. It was a woman. She was wearing a white dress. I was in a white room. There was this structure. There was that structure. There was this feeling. There was that feeling. There was this person. There was that person. You want to list all of those out, if you can, in the order that they appeared. And so, first thing, make a nice long list of all of those things which you can recall from the dream. And then start at the top. And for every single piece of the dream that you can remember, ask yourself, what does this mean to me? And so here, let me give you an example of that. A lady came and she was wearing white. And so when I ask myself, what does it mean that she came to me and she was wearing white? Well, for Forrest, it means that she was holy, she was pure. But to another yogini, let's say a woman, she might think immediately, oh, white, that means wedding. And so she will write down wedding, while I will write down holy. You see, this is why you have to ask yourself. So you are welcome to go out and buy 2 or 3 dream books, and they will give you ideas of symbology. They will give you ideas, well, this might mean that, and this might mean that, and this might mean that. And that's fine. Those are good suggestions, and they can get you started. But in the end, you have to throw all those books away and simply ask yourself, what does this mean to me? Because it's the automatic connection of meaning between you and that symbol. And that is going to be a slightly different interpretation for every single person. And so you may read the book explanation, or you might look it up online. What does this symbology mean in a dream? And maybe AI answers you, and you say, oh, that's a nice answer, that makes sense. But when I ask myself, my interpretation is slightly different. And if that happens with every element, then at the very end, you get an entirely different meaning to your dream. So you can't ask anybody else. In fact, I have students that ask me, well, I dreamed this, and I dreamed this, and I dreamed this. And every time I answer, I say, well, what do you think about this? I'm going to give you an interpretation. Does it resonate with you? And so I'm always asking them, because it has to fit with their own language of symbology, which they have created over a lifetime. And that is going to be unique to every single person. So write out every single answer. And then once you've gone through the whole list, then you start out at the top and you say, well, this meaning and this meaning and this meaning and this meaning, and you string those meanings together, and you might go, oh, I get it. Amazing. I get it now. But it's only when you look at the entire sheet that you begin to understand the full meaning of the dream. And now you are learning symbology. You are interpreting your own dreams based on your symbology. Very, very meaningful. And if you practice this just a little bit, just now and again, and then the divine throws an image at you, boom, you might get it. You might understand easily because you've had just a little bit of practice with your own symbology. You will understand what is being given to you. Never take a dream at face value. I was in the ashram for 5+ years, and it was 2 years getting in. So altogether, it was it was a huge chunk of my life. It was 7+ years. And I had dreams of being a monastic for years and years and years and years after I left. And at first I said, oh my God, I can't get over this place. I just keep dreaming about it. And then I realized, no, you're okay. You're over it. The thing is, your subconscious has decided this is a perfect metaphor to give you lots of information. And so my subconscious just loved to use this metaphor of being in an ashram over and over and over again. It was very meaningful for my subconscious, you see. Some of you know I love martial arts. And one night I had a dream that I was in a huge fight. And in that fight, I was using martial arts over and over and over again. And at face value, I woke up and I said, "Oh my God, that was a hairy dream, wasn't it?" And then I sat down with this process and I said, what does this mean to me? And what does this mean to me? And what does this mean to me? And the martial section of the dream, it meant technique. And so I got to the very end of the meaning of the dream and I realized this is a dream about Kriya Yoga. This is not about martial arts. It's about techniques and applying the correct technique to the correct place at the correct time. That's what my dream was about. That's what was being communicated to me. And the subconscious just decided the perfect metaphor for that is going to be the martial arts. So never take your dream at face value. And I see this all the time. People get worried about their dreams without asking, what is the meaning of this to me? You have to ask that over and over again. If you don't know what that means, get a few dream books, see what they say. Don't just agree with them. Ask yourself, okay, now I have an example. What does this mean to me? Because it's going to be different and even if it's slightly different, that's going to change the meaning. So I just put out the Gayatri Mantra training on my website, and I just want you to have this information in case you're doing the Gayatri Mantra and Ma drops a vision down inside of you as a form of communication, that you have something to draw on, that the symbology of this vision is giving me communication. This is dropping down from the higher self, landing in the subconscious. The subconscious is full of the visions, and so that is the language which will speak to you. And you might say, well, why doesn't Ma just speak to me in words? Well, because the window is so small, and the charge is getting bigger, but it's still small. And to give you words, the charge has to be very, very, very full in the left amygdala, and then it will actually spill out into the left hippocampus. It's only then when the yogi has a vision and words, or just words, that come to them, because the charge that we're building in the left amygdala through the Gayatri Mantra, it spills out into the left hippocampus, then there are words. But otherwise, the window is too small, and so Ma, in her kindness, in her graciousness, she is giving you a message even before you have fulfilled that humongous charge. She's giving it to you as soon as she possibly can. Beautiful, right? So I hope you loved this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.